everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Julie Moore-Wolf. I serve as the mayor of Decatur, and it is my great pleasure to welcome Governor J.B. Pritzker back to Decatur. He has been an incredible friend to this community. When he couldn't be here in person due to COVID restrictions, it was not unusual to get a lot of phone calls, and I deeply appreciate that because we've been through a lot in the past few years. So one of the things about this governor is he gets it. He knows that the things that are really important to people are the things at the kitchen table. How do you pay your bills? How do you make sure there's enough food? Are you going to be able to hit that new high on your power bill? What about the price of gas? How do we make it? And he's doing his level best to try and help all of us through the end of the pandemic, which can't come soon enough. But it is a pleasure to welcome him back to Decatur again today. So without further ado, please welcome Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor Moore-Wolf, and thank you for your leadership of Decatur throughout the pandemic, of course, and in the years before and as we move forward. So important local leadership, especially when we have crises in front of us. We've seen that local leadership truly has made the difference to keep people healthy and alive during this coronavirus pandemic and in so many other circumstances. So just know you have my undying gratitude. Let me also acknowledge our Senator Doris Turner. And I know that Representative Sue Scherer is on her way to join us as well. I want to thank both of them for joining me in your district to talk about what we can do to support Illinois families. And of course, to IML President Brad Cole, it's always a pleasure to work with you and to work on behalf of communities up and down the state of Illinois. My General Assembly partners and I come together in historic circumstances this legislative session. After decades of credit downgrades for the state of Illinois and fiscal instability, we have balanced the budget for 3 years in a row. We have paid down our bill backlog. We have earned credit upgrades. Things are finally looking up from a fiscal perspective in our state. Illinois will end this fiscal year with a $1.7 billion surplus. That's our state's first substantial budget surplus in more than 25 years. It's exciting news, and it means that state government can finally put dollars back in the pockets of working families. Whether it's global inflation or rising world oil prices from the war in Ukraine, working families need relief from higher prices. So I've proposed $1 billion of relief for Illinois residents right now, from the crunch of the rising cost of food and gas, and of course, property taxes. It's called the Illinois Family Relief Plan, and it starts with immediate property tax relief, up to $300 to every eligible homeowner. And I urge every local taxing district to take a hard look at reducing property taxes that they impose on their communities. It is, in fact, imposed at a local level. Many municipalities and schools and other taxing bodies impose property taxes and increase them because of increasing needs and because they have significant responsibilities to fulfill. But as revenues have increased at a local level, we all should be thinking about how we can lower local property taxes. At the state level, we're jump-starting that effort, and that's done by doubling our tax deduction for Illinois homeowners, and we can bring relief doing that to nearly 2 million Illinois taxpayers. The Family Relief Plan will also eliminate the state tax on groceries and freeze the gas tax over the coming year, saving families $500 million at the checkout counter and at the gas pump. We're able to do this, of course, because we are restoring fiscal sanity to state government. We're finally paying off those past due bills. We're restoring our rainy day fund. We're reducing our pension liability. When I was first elected, I pledged to budget responsibly and with a focus on reducing the burdens on working families. The Illinois Family Relief Plan does just that, and I look forward to working with lawmakers to bring it across the finish line this spring. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to really an incredible advocate for Decatur in the State House, someone who never lets me forget that she is fighting for the people of her district, and that's Senator Doris Turner. Senator?
Good morning. Oh, that was good. So it is really good to be in Decatur today. Earlier this month, I marked 1 year in the Illinois State Senate, and it went by very fast. You can tell it went by very quickly. And Decatur has really become like my second home. I spend a lot of time here. I have visited all the diverse businesses, the nonprofits that provide a plethora of services throughout this community, the educational institutions, and the everyday ordinary citizens from all walks of life. I understand, and more importantly, feel the frustration that the pandemic and inflation has brought on all of us. Trust me, I too am frustrated, but as Governor Pritzker has said today, help is on the way. And that's something that I think we can all be very optimistic about. It is important that we have a governor that understands the frustrations of everyday citizens and is doing everything that he can to address those frustrations in a real way and offering real relief that you can see in your checkbook at the end of the month, that you can see when you go to the grocery store, and that you can see when you go to pump gas at the gas station, and bringing property relief. That's a glimmer of hope that we all have been clamoring for a long time. This is a fantastic opportunity, and it will really help ease the pinch of inflation by providing much-needed aid to homeowners and families across Illinois. I am proud to champion this opportunity for property tax relief and all of those other real initiatives that will provide real opportunities for everyday people like you and I. And I will work with Governor Pritzker and my colleagues in the Illinois State Senate to see that this initiative becomes law, because it is the right thing to do for the residents of Illinois. And I have no doubt that we will definitely get it done. And with that, I will invite Governor Pritzker back.
Thank you. Happy to take any questions from members of the media.
Governor, you talked about the need for local governments to focus on lowering property taxes. How can state policy help with that?
Help with property taxes?
Well, help encourage, I know maybe Brad Cole can speak to this as well, but what have you heard from municipalities that can help? As years I've covered the State House, government consolidations, pension issues, a whole host of a range of things. What do you think could happen to make property tax relief long-term instead of just temporary?
So let's start with something I think we should all acknowledge, which is, and you talk about consolidation of local governments, and that's always, it gets talked about a lot, not a lot of consolidation occurs. It can happen by itself. It's not that the state has to do it. It's actually local governments that initiate that effort. But in the absence of that, there are things, and you've seen I supported a bill by Representative McSweeney 2 years ago that allowed local governments a local government to be disbanded if the voters chose to do so. And I thought that was an interesting way to go about it, and we saw the results of that. But the thing I think we all have to pay attention to is that the majority of the taxes that people pay, property taxes, are paying for schools. And the challenge in Illinois has always been, and it's gotten worse over the years, that we're far below the national average. In fact, we're one of the worst states in the nation in terms of the portion of the school funding that comes from the state. So in the average state in the United States, about half of the money, well, let's call it 46% of the money for schools comes from the state. In Illinois, only 24% comes from the state. And that's an enormous problem. And why was that? Because budgets weren't balanced. Because we weren't doing the things that we needed to do at the state level before I came into office to get the state budget in such a situation that we might be able to increase funding at the local level and, more importantly, increase funding for schools. And now that we are turning the corner and getting credit upgrades for it and balancing the budget, dealing with the holes that have been drilled in the boat of state government, filling those. I think that the state is in a much better position to continue to increase funding for local schools. In my budget, my proposed budget this year, we increased funding by more than $350 million this year, and during the course of my tenure in office, it's more than $1 billion for local schools. So I, continue that effort. I will continue to invest in education at the state level, and that helps to alleviate the burden on local property taxpayers who are paying most of the rest of the 76%. As you know, the federal government provides about 8 or 9% of school funding. So we have more to do. There's an awful lot more to do, but it starts with the state getting its fiscal house in order, which we're doing.
And Brad, if you could address maybe what some municipalities are looking for that could help with local pensions, for instance. I know that's a major driver. We heard about it in Springfield quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just say the governor's absolutely correct. Getting the state's budget in order is the stability that local governments need, the cities, villages, and towns throughout Illinois. With the Illinois Municipal League, we have been promoting, and the governor has actively supported public safety pension reform through the consolidation of investments that will generate savings for municipalities, the collection of online sales taxes, and other things that will empower local governments to be able to collect and keep more resources. Property taxes for cities and villages are a small portion of their budget, but having the state budget stabilized with more resources available to them eliminates the need for the state to put more unfunded mandates on local governments. So the governor's plan is helping in that way. Stabilization of the state budget means better budgets at the local level.
Your reaction to the Attorney General filing the appeal in the Illinois Supreme Court? What do you say to those school districts who have gone mask optional, mask recommended? Can you put the toothpaste back in the tube, so to speak?
Well, remember, I've said for several weeks now that we would be removing the requirement for masks in schools, and that on February 28th we'll be removing the mask mandate in indoor settings. So, it's when you say toothpaste back in the tube, I would just say that that is our aim and has been our aim all along. However, the decisions that were made at the circuit court and appellate court level, well, let's talk about the circuit court. That was just a poor decision, a badly designed reading of the law. The appellate court, because of the desire of the legislature to punt, frankly, decided they would punt too, and that's what they did. So now this is going to go to the Supreme Court, and this really is about what do we do in the next emergency, right? This, as much as anything, what happens when there is another Omicron wave, or, God forbid, at some future date, another pandemic or some other major emergency that affects everybody in the state. We want to be able to do the right thing for the people across the state, and so we hope that the Supreme Court will see that and rule on that despite the decision by the appellate court.
Why not seek legislation to clarify what the powers are when it comes to these quarantine?
We actually don't think that there's any lack of clarity. It seemed the judge decided differently, but I also think there were some politics involved in that.
You have the courts. I mean, obviously there is conflict here because the courts are, they're moving.
The conflict is political. It is not what is in the written law.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.